Okay, so welcome to Facts with Aki, episode 1 that I'm never continuing because this is a school project. So, what is the subject of the school project this time? Well, the subject is the types of food that perhaps aren't dangerous to us, but are harming the environment. So, today I'm going to make a video, like I stated before, for a school project, and we're going to talk about more or less about 12 types of foods that you shouldn't eat if you care about the environment. And, tips how to handle it or how to find a substitute. So, the first thing I'd like to talk about are the meats and seafood. So this is going to suck for people who like eating meat, but the truth is the environmental impact of meat is one of the worst, according to a Natural Resources Defense Council study. So about 1/4 of global emissions is from food, while about half of that can be attributed to animal products. But more specifically, bigger animals such as beef and lamb. So let's talk about why. So in the meat and seafood category, we have beef. So between the feed they require and the methane that they produce, beef production takes the hardest toll on the earth of any food available. You see, cows are ruminants, which means they are among the few species that can obtain nutrients from plant-based foods by fermenting it first. This fermentation process produces a lot of methane, a greenhouse gas that is 25 times stronger than carbon dioxide or CO2. Thus, cows create the highest food carbon footprint. In fact, 1 pound of beef translates to 57 pounds of carbon dioxide, the equivalent of burning 2.6 gallons of fuel in your car. So, cattle also requires more land and resources than almost any other farm animal. For every pound of beef that makes it to the market, about 10 to 14 pounds of feed is consumed. Not only is this inefficient, but it has resulted in deforestation, as farmers make way to plant more corn and soy to feed the cattle. In second place for the meat and seafood area is lamb, because sheep cause about the same problems as cows despite being slightly smaller. They produce a carbon footprint at about 55 pounds of carbon dioxide per pound of meat. The third on the list is, surprisingly, shellfish. So let's say you stop eating red meat and replace it with something more seafoody like shrimp or lobster. But the thing is, every pound of shellfish puts about 24 pounds of carbon dioxide into the air. Number 4 is pork. So, people may love bacon or shoshi, okay. It's pork, which puts 17 pounds of carbon dioxide per pound of meat into the air. Chicken is at 11 pounds of carbon dioxide per pound of meat. And fish, coming in last, puts about 7.5 pounds of carbon dioxide into the air per pound of meat. So what can you do to reduce these effects that come from eating meat and seafood? You could always try to replace the steak on your plate with a grilled chicken breast or a wild-caught fish. Not only are these healthier meat options, but you can actually reduce your environmental footprint by a whopping 44 pounds of carbon dioxide per pound of meat. You could also try swapping meat-based meals for beans or legumes. They're high in protein and can be thrown into a variety of tasty vegetarian or vegan recipes. Oh, but not only meat and seafood are on the menu of things that you shouldn't eat if you care about the environment, because next we have up fruits and vegetables. In 7th place on the worst things to eat if you care about the environment Asparagus. Surprise! So, asparagus is one of those very few vegetables with a heavy carbon footprint, costing about 19.6 pounds of carbon dioxide per pound. So, according to the experts, that phenomena has less to do with cultivation and more to do with the carbon dioxide produced during transportation. See, most of the asparagus eaten by Americans comes from South America and flown from farm to store. Okay, so number 8 on the list, avocados. So avocados themselves do not produce as much carbon dioxide, but their need for water is prodigious. But their need for water is extreme. When they're grown in their native tropical climates, the water they need comes naturally. But when grown, however, comes naturally. But when grown in drought, but when grown in places but when avocados are grown in places that tend to have droughts, such as California, the resources are much more scarce. At number 9, bananas. So not only are bananas brought in from places like South America So not only are bananas brought in from other places or are shipped, their spoilage rates are high according to a Swedish study. So in this study, bananas are produced at the highest wasted mass for grocers and the highest environmental cost due to this waste. But as always, on the bright side, overripe bananas are easily frozen and a great option for baking or throwing into smoothies. By purchasing brown bananas, you can help reduce kitchen waste while supporting the plant's health, not to mention your own. So what can you do about these fruits and vegetables? Well, vegetables have the lowest impact on the environment. So if you already follow a plant-based diet, you're doing the earth a huge favor. But how to reduce the impact even more? You can focus on buying your fruits and vegetables seasonally to reduce waste, or buying local produce to reduce transportation costs.